Now, the Prime Minister is urging Australians to understand that the budget surplus is more important than providing cost of living relief. This as more and more Australian families are struggling with the rising cost of living and struggling to put food on the table. Albanese says that spending the surplus dollars would only make inflation worse. Well, joining me now is Deputy Editor of the Australian Financial Review, Kylar Loussikian. Great to see you, Kylar. Look, wages have jumped by their highest rate in history in the September quarter. This is the strongest quarterly wage growth since the ABS began recording data 26 years ago. We're also seeing, though, high inflation, a cost of living crisis. What's your view of the economic picture that we're looking at for Australia, and are we looking at entrenched inflation now?
Well, I think the good news is that, if there is that much good news, that the market seems to think there's not really going to be another rate rise, next month. So, I guess that's good for homeowners. Next year, though, the market seems pretty split. So there's a 50% chance, they say, that interest rates will keep going up. And I guess that's the difficult position the government finds itself in. Growth is ticking along. People are coming into the country. Demand is kind of growing. But at the same time, those things that we need, obviously, skilled migration, all those types of things, they're the kinds of things that are also going to be driving up inflation. So I think the RBA said last week they were a bit more pessimistic about inflation coming down kind of in the near term. So I think we're probably stuck with it for a bit longer.
Yeah, high immigration is said to be one of the biggest factors, and we've spoken about it on the show, driving the increased inflation and also, of course, putting pressure on the rental crisis and housing supply. It seems like at the moment it's really up to the RBA to tackle interest, to raise rates, to tackle inflation. Should the government be doing more, and what can it do?
Well, that's the tricky thing. I don't know. I think probably personally the best outcome is that they don't do anything. More spending by the government. I know there's obviously, they might want to go and spend some money trying to alleviate the cost of living pressures that you've mentioned. That's a pretty easy enough thing to do. But I think doing that exact thing is what's actually going to be contributing to inflation. So it's a bit of a kind of a chicken and egg situation, unfortunately. There's a few things that can be done in the longer term, although that's not really going to help right now. One of the things that we've seen the Financial Review's been covering is this issue about infrastructure. So the RBA, and other people reckon that, we're spending quite a lot on infrastructure, and a lot of that is pushing up, the cost of construction, the cost of labour, materials, all that kind of thing. So the government wants to bring that back a little bit. They can do that. They say they're doing that, but, that's not going to have an immediate reaction. So it's very hard for them to do very much except for making it worse. So hopefully they don't do very much at all.
All right, I want to turn to this incredible story in your paper today, which is why I wanted to speak with you tonight. Leaked emails reveal that PwC helped a Russian oligarch escape sanctions at the outbreak of the Ukraine war. And according to this report, PwC helped them hide their billions in Cyprus bank accounts. Kylar, how did they do this, and how serious is this new allegation for PwC?
Yeah, it's an incredible story, isn't it? Written by my colleague Neil Chenoweth. And so, the gist is that Cyprus seems to be a pretty, popular destination for wealthy Russians, to put their money through, to have their companies in. PwC there seems to have, back in 2001, they started a little company called, I think it was called Sipco Direct or something like that. It was like an offshoot of PwC Cyprus. It had a lot of the same people. They shared apparently health benefits and all sorts of things. So I guess there's questions about how separate a company it really is. Anyway, between them and PwC Cyprus, according to these leaked documents, there was a lot of frantic movement of assets, all sorts of things like that. Look, they might not 100% be in breach of sanctions, but they're certainly very close to the line if they're not. And that's kind of that's what Neil has been reporting on. It's quite a fascinating story.
Has there been any response from them today?
Well, the government in Cyprus say that they are that they're investigating at least one of the matters. There was one that sailed very close to the line, which was a transfer of a whole bunch of assets that was owned by one very wealthy Russian oligarch who I think was fairly close to Vladimir Putin, certainly was in a meeting with him kind of on the day or days around the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So they're looking into that because that one was quite amazing. The assets were transferred into his wife's name with no price. It was just kind of like, we'll just move it and then we'll sort the details out later. We've got to get it done quickly because the EU is going to be announcing sanctions, very shortly. So that's what the government in Cyprus says. Yeah, the PwC have kind of hedged their bets a little bit. They don't think that they've done anything wrong, but I guess this will only play out really. It's a very interesting picture because we've been reporting about what PwC is doing here, what's happened with PwC here. So it looks like it's not just an Australian issue, kind of skirting close to the to the law, close to regulations, but it is something that is affecting the company all around the world.
All right, Kylar Loussikian, thank you very much for your time.